What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and today we have our last piece of content, turning the page from the 2023 season and moving towards the 2024 season. I know a lot of you Dynasty sickos are waiting for me to start posting Dynasty videos. That is coming very, 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 very soon. I promise very soon that is coming, but we just have one last piece of housekeeping to do here, and that is going to be going through my fantasy leagues, talking about the results, profit, how we did in them across high stakes redraft, dynasty, best ball, my home league, everything that I played in this year. We are going to go through, talk some lessons learned, talk through how we did, all of that, because I pride myself in transparency. I don't think that you're going to find anybody else that has a similar platform as mine and is going to go through all the results from their season, good or bad. So with that being said, we got a lot to get into. We have 50 plus teams to talk about. With all that being said, if you enjoy, make sure down below, subscribe, leave a like. Let's go. Now, to start this off, we're going to get into the spreadsheets here. And this is where we left off. All right. Last year, we had an amazing year. We turned $12,220 into $23,560. We made about $11,000 of profit. So I came into this year wanting to take that profit, that house money, and we were very aggressive with how many leagues we got into. Now, I'm going to be honest. I was dreading making this video ever so slightly. We did not have the magical run that we had last year. It was actually not that great. We'll get to the financials and everything at the end. We went over the top. We were a little bit aggressive. And I'm going to say the first lesson that we learned this year from fantasy football is I was just we played at too high of a volume. Last year, actually, I'm going to pull up the other spreadsheet real quick. But last year, I think that we played in only 15 redraft managed leagues. This year, we turned that up to 27. Now, I'm going to be honest. I think I got a little bit carried away with giving you guys good stream content, because the high stakes streams, they do really well, and they're also, honest to God, they're one of the most fun pieces of content that I do. Having a high stakes draft that's $300+ chat's going wild. We're bouncing off ideas. You guys are telling me to draft this player or this player. I'm asking you guys for your input. You guys are roasting my picks. You're saying, oh, this is a great draft. All of that. It's very, very fun. But I think I should have really thought about the structure a little bit more. I think we bit off a little more than I could chew. But that's not a massive deal. That just means, in terms of start sits and waiver wire, it just felt like I wasn't as on top of it as I was in 2022. So a big lesson for me moving forward is going to be, this year, again, we had a lot of money to play with, and I just wanted to give you guys good content. But I think it's good that we sort of hit that limit, because you can see this is the last year's spreadsheet. So we were in, I want to say it's going to be 14. Yeah, so 15 total redraft high stakes leagues. If we go to, this is 2022, by the way. If we go to 2023, you're going to see it's a lot more than 15. And I think that that's just going to lend itself to being a little bit overexerted. So we had 27 this year. Now, I will say with 27, right, you are implied with 27 teams. Let's actually zoom out a little bit more. You are implied. So you're supposed to win one of every 12 leagues, right? So times 27, 2.25, and we end up winning 2 leagues. So that's about what we're expected. You can go, 2.25 is going to be, you should have 2 to 3 first place teams, 2 to 3 second place, 2 to 3 third place, so and so on. And that's where we were at. But we didn't come over the top and win. We overperformed last year. We had 2 first place finishes in 15. This year, 2 first place finishes and almost double the amount of volume, which is not good. Now, when we talk about this teams, we had good teams, right? We had I'm a Blue Raspberry Guy. You can, by the way, these names of my teams are absolute nonsense. Don't read into them too much. I'm a Blue Raspberry Guy is a good squad that we drafted in the offseason on stream. And this is a god squad. Josh Allen, Achane, Brees, Amon-Ra, A.J. Brown, Mike Evans, Trey McBride, Javonte, and Flex. That's the only problem. We were a little bit weak at Flex. Drake London and JSN sort of held us down a little bit. Let's see. Can we see the draft board? I want to say we definitely can. So this was like a 0 RB team. Like this was kind of the meta this year, where you just like didn't take a running back. Like if you took a running back early on, it had to be McCaffrey, and if not McCaffrey, you were probably better off. Like Derrick Henry wasn't terrible, but you were probably better off if not McCaffrey, just waiting for Gibbs, ETN, Breece Hall, which is what we did here. We did take Javonte in the 6th, which wasn't great. I wish that this was like Pittman or something. That would have been much better for this team. Maybe, with these builds like this where we take a running back 5th round and kind of make it 0 RB, I think that we actually went a little bit against our own rules here, and I probably doubled up on running back at the wrong time. I think that the play would probably be just wait on Javonte or wait on that RB2 spot, push it even a little bit more aggressively, and take a guy in this late 6th, like a Pittman, like a Flowers, all of those players. So after that, we also have Milk and Cookies, which did really well. This team is fun. I do want to see what this draft board looks like as well, where you can see, so like another, wait, no chance. That's the same team we just saw. Hold on. I hope, okay, but I was going to say, if you guys saw my sign in there, I was going to be very mad. So let's see. The draft board from this one. Okay, so this was like a double hero, and it wasn't even like I guess it just ended up being a 0 RB team at the end of the day, because like Saquon was okay. JT killed you, but it had Tyreek, Amari Cooper, Nico Collins was in there, Rashee Rice, Jaden Reed. So we really hit on the rookie wide receivers late in this draft. We tried double hero. Double hero across the board was just really bad this year, is kind of what it came down to. Where any, Bijan Jacobs, that's going to kill you. McCaffrey Henry's probably fine, but like any other combination of double hero, not great. That's going to be a big thing to look at. Double hero killed you this year, but double hero also won massive amounts of money the previous years before that. So I wouldn't really be spooked by it. But you can see here, shout out to Overhype Sleeper. I want to say that he actually has a presence on Twitter and in the fantasy space. Me and him went toe-to-toe for the championship here. Now, I will say this is a weird format, these NFFC ones, right? And I actually like them a lot. It's a regular season from weeks 1 through 14, and then you have, if the person in first place in head-to-head has the most points scored, it's an auto-win. You win your league. But if that's split, if the head-to-head leader, I was the head-to-head leader, Dan Williamson here was the points leader, you go into a playoff matchup between the top 2 teams, weeks 15, 16, 17, whoever has the most points. And thankfully, we came out alive, even though in week 15, I think that we were down bad. Yeah, he had 168, I had 131, so I was down like 30 points. We overcame that. We won in week 17. So shout out NFFC. Now, I will say, you'll see, this is a $350 buy-in league, right? And we only got $1,500 at the top here. So if you do that math, right, it's like $350 buy-in times 12. This is how much is in the pool. And all I got for winning this first place was $1,500. Now, that's the downfall of playing in these high stakes leagues, is all of the big prize money is in the tournament. So we won the individual leagues, or the individual league. And if we go to rules, we should see prizes. And then you can see this is where you're going to get the big money. Last year in this exact tournament, we came in 5th place, which was $10,000 last year, I think. We came in 5th place. This year, that's where we sort of whiffed. Is we won like a fine, like 2-27 is not great. We got unlucky with 3 silvers and 3 bronzes. So 3 second place teams, 3 third place teams, not great. But we didn't get any good overall finishes. Like we got close in a couple. Like this one was 30th, but it wasn't enough. 132 wasn't enough. Last year again, we hit 5th. So when you whiff on the overall prizes, you need to be really over the top in terms of your win percentage. So to really come out clean profit-wise in these, you probably have to win like 4 of 27 or win like 1 of every 6 leagues or 1 out of every 5 leagues, and that'll get you there. And I think in another year, we would have. This year was just really tough. We had a lot of Mike Williams. I was looking back. We had a lot of Mike Williams. He went down. Jonathan Taylor, Bijan, Pollard. Just a rough year. We did okay wide receiver-wise, but the injuries at the end, also like the players that carried you there. Like I had a lot of Tank Dell teams we got from waivers. Of course, if you followed the channel and you looked at the waiver videos just with the rookie wide receiver report, Rashee Rice on a lot of my teams, Jaden Reed, Tank Dell. But like Tank Dell and the Texans fizzled out by playoff time. ETN fizzled out by playoff time. You had a lot of guys that fizzled out. Jonathan Taylor, just when it looked like he was going to be back, fizzled out. DeAndre Swift fizzled out. It was a really weird year where like guys who got you to the promised land early just completely no-showed at the end of the year. Stephon Diggs was one, A.J. Brown another, TJ Hawkinson, another because of that brutal ACL injury. So it was just a rough and tricky year in the playoffs. You can see here, though, like, first, second, and third we just got very, I hate to say unlucky. You can see here at the end of the day, we bought in with 11,000. We only made 5,400. So that's not good. We only came in with about 50% of our money. But again, we were playing with house money. I went over the top aggressive. So I think that the big thing with these redraft things, or redraft high stakes managed leagues, is going to be planning it out in advance how many I'm going to do. 27 was far too many. I think 15 is about my cap, 12 to 15. And maybe if I want to get more money, on stake, we'll just do higher buy-in ones and just kind of condense them down to 15. Because my whole idea was, let's go over the top. Let's do a bunch. Let's do it for content, which is fine. The content pays for itself. And the idea was if I just do a ton, we'll not guarantee, but we'll have a better shot at hitting that overall prize again and getting another big chunk of change, which didn't happen. And I think at a certain point, there's a point of diminishing returns where a lot of these teams are structured similarly drafted players, and there's really only so many combinations you can throw out until across the board it's just not really your year, right? There's a lot of variance in fantasy, a lot of things happen. You could build your entire portfolio around, let's say you had Tank Dell on every single team. That would have been great, and then you get to the final, 6-week stretch, and it sucks. So that's kind of where we're at. We can look at a couple more teams. I was very happy to say, so Silver B with Nick and Main Event with Johnny here. These are two leagues we did with subscribers. Remember, right at the end of the offseason, we hit like 1,000 patrons. So we hit 2,000 patrons, which is insane. One of these was for 1,000 patrons. One was for 2,000 patrons. I opened it up to the Patreon. I said, what do you guys want to do? And the overwhelming majority wanted to co-manage high-stakes teams with me. So I am very happy that the two high-stakes teams I co-managed with patrons, we actually hit second place in both. It sucks. I mean, this is really what my year came down to. Let's actually look at the Silver Bullet team. Shout out Nick, really cool guy. He actually DJs at like a local bar that I go to. And this one was brutal, man. This is really what the story of my fantasy season was. And, it sucks, but fantasy, like, it is a game. It is a high variance game. You're not going to win every single time. Where can I kind of see what I needed? Yeah, let's go standings, Silver B with Nick. And you can see, so we end up getting second place by a whopping 4 points here. So all that this silver bullet is, it's a $1,000 buy-in. So if we go here, it's a $1,000 buy-in, and through 14 weeks, right? Through 14 weeks in the regular season, first place is most total points. Second place is next highest total points. Third place, best head-to-head record. $5,000, $2,400, $600. So this was a $2,600 swing by 4 points here, right? You can see Ron Stewart, 2012, this guy at 2016. And to make matters even worse, it was all because of a start-sit decision in Week 14. I play Chuba Hubbard, who gets 11.6, over Zay Flowers, who gets a 20 bomb. If we play Zay Flowers in that spot, we are $2,400 richer. And that's just kind of the story of what my season was with a lot of these high-stakes redraft teams. Brutal. I mean, it's tough to cry a river, we get paid to stream these teams. I enjoy playing fantasy and having these teams, but it was just a lot of near misses and close calls, and you hate to see that. I do want to see how we ended up drafting this team. So this was, again, this is a really weird year where in the past, I think that we were pretty aggressive on double hero RB this year, which is funny. I think that was probably my biggest whiff. Looking back, my biggest whiff was I saw the most stacked wide receiver round 1 and 2 I've ever seen, right? Where it's just wide receivers across the board. And I think it made sense to go double hero running back if, let's say you take McCaffrey here, instead of Devontae Smith or Ridley or Kupp, you take one of these guys. The issue is that they all suck. JT was not good. Mixon, Najee. Now, this is third round reversal. So you could go McCaffrey, and even then, it's just maybe Derrick Henry falls back to you here, but it's tough. But we went Diggs, Olave, Mark Andrews, Etienne, and Brees. This is actually something that I'm glad that we sort of advocated for all draft season, of modified double hero where you go Etienne and Brees. The issue is that you have to hit on your wide receivers. Again, another Mike Williams team. I'm telling you, Mike Williams was never really a must-draft target for me this draft season, but we had a lot of Mike Williams, and it really hurt when he went down. Mike Evans, Zay Flowers. This is a really fun and good team. Geno and Rodgers is shaky, but still a fun team. We ended up drafting. Hubbard was great. Zamir White down the stretch. Jerome Ford down the stretch. Like, you can see, we patched together running backs late. I wish, like, I'm looking at this. I don't know what, I think the Olave pick is what killed us a lot of the times. I think, like, second round Josh Allen would have been great for this team. It probably would have pushed this team over the top. It's just like middle of the second round quarterback. That was the meta this year, but rarely is that the meta in a given year, Like, willingly just taking a second round quarterback. It's just that the mid to late second was that bad this year. Like, you look all the way through here, right? After you get past Kelsey, Pollard was bad. Devontae was shaky at best. Waddle bad. Olave bad. Allen was great. Hurts was great. Derrick Henry was fine. Devontae Smith bad. Ridley pretty bad. Kupp pretty bad. Like, T. Higgins pretty bad. DK Metcalf pretty bad. Like, it was just a gauntlet of a year with kind of how the board shook out. And I think it was just a lot of near misses. Like, in years past, like, we were right that late second round wide receiver wasn't the play, but all the other alternatives were also not the play outside of quarterback and tight end in some instances. Like, Mark Andrews wasn't great this year either because he got hurt. So it was a minefield of that 2-3 turn. It was a really tricky year. But I am glad that this team, like, ended up doing well, but it sucks. Like, I didn't get, like, last year we got very lucky in the overall. If you look here, we ended up in 44th, or no. I don't think we ended up in 44th. I think we ended up in 30th, but regardless, it wasn't in the money. You can see all the overall ranks here, just not where it needed to end up. And like, we needed like a top 10 finish to really come over the top. And that's kind of the nature of these in general, is with these teams, right? High stakes redraft managed, you need to win the overall prizes. So it is a little bit of a gamble. Like, it's not like a cash game in poker. It's like a tournament. Most of the time, you're going to probably break even or lose money, but some of the time you're going to come home with just a massive, massive W. We were hoping for that this year. We did not get it. I do want to look at the other team with the patron. I am very thankful. Again, the two teams with patrons, we ended up doing well, and I think both of them are going to profit. I mean, I covered their buy-in. I still split their buy-in in half for the sake of this video just because, the other half is sort of more me paying them or covering their buy-in. I do want to check out the FFPC team with that guy. Shout out Johnny. Shout out both of my co-managers, man. Very cool all year. Kind of just let me take the reins of the team, but good, like, checking in with them, seeing what's going on. Drafting them on stream was super clean as well. Let's see. What does the draft board look like on this team? So main event with Johnny. I want to say this is the one where we go main event with Johnny. Okay, so we're here. We go Jalen Hurts in the third. We stack him to Devontae Smith. I think that's like one of the best ways to mitigate that Devontae Smith pick, because again, he wasn't like god awful, but if you stacked him to Jalen Hurts, that was nice. Again, another one of these teams, like, this was my best teams this year, were teams like this where it was like a modified 0 RB where we go Brees and another running back, like this 4 or 5. It was a very weird year for running backs where we were on top of, like, yes, you can take a couple stabs in the RB dead zone. I just wish that we were on some other guys. Like, Kenneth Walker looked good early on, and then he fizzled out. I wish I was a little bit more on, like, I had a lot of J.K. Dobbins. He didn't pan out, but I wish I was more on, like, Rashad White and James Cook. But, man, that, like, 5th-round price on James Cook never at any point felt good. We did get Kittle, who was nice this year. Zay Flowers, Elijah Moore, Rashad Bateman, that's not good. Rashee Rice on this team is fun. Another solid team, but we fell short to Cocktails and Dreams, Chad Schroeder. He is one of the top dogs in the fantasy space. We end up losing this championship again. Like, I've never gotten so many second and third place medals this year. I've never gotten so many finals losses in a year, and it just absolutely sucks, man. We lost at the hands of essentially Brandon Aubrey here, 24.4 points, and this was, of course, the 1 week. This was week 14. That was a big issue. That's the big issue with the FFPC. Is their playoffs are week 13 and week 14. We win in week 13. We make it to week 14, and we lose by like less than 20. We get a dud from Jalen Hurts. We get a dud from Tyreek Hill. It's just such nonsense, dude. If our two studs in Tyreek and Jalen Hurts just show up in week 14, we win this league as well. So again, it's a game of inches. It truly, truly is. Shout out to Jacob Sanderson as well. We ended up getting second place in our league. Again, a bunch of close misses, a bunch of, like bronzes. The issue is like these bronzes, 2 of them are $0. Again, this is what, a $1,000 buy-in for us. We didn't even break even on this main event when you finish in second place. So like you have to win first, you have to do well in the overalls, and it's just not what happened for us this year. Now I do want to check out just like a random like bad team that I drafted and maybe see if we can draw any kind of conclusions from those teams. So I do want to check out, let's just scroll to a random one. We'll scroll to a random one down here. Let's look at BU the robot. I do want to kind of inspect like what maybe went wrong with some of these teams that like didn't even, that just like finished bottom 5. I will say a lot of the times, yeah, so this was a double hero RB team. The wide receivers were even great. Debo, DJ Moore, Pittman are great, but when you start out your draft with Bijan Chubb, you lose Chubb. Bijan wasn't great all year. It comes like a hero RB team. Again, we draft for first place or last place, so this is how you structure double hero RB. This team lost because we didn't, dive into the RB dead zone and draft a Swift or draft a Rachaad White or anybody of that nature in the middle. But if you do that, you're handicapping your upside, right? Because then we'd have Bijan Chubb, we'd have like another Swift or Rachaad White, and then we wouldn't have Pittman or DJ Moore or anything like that, and then we'd just be weak at wide receiver. So you're just playing whack-a-mole. If your first 2 picks are Bijan Chubb and a double hero RB, your team's screwed regardless. Now, I do want to keep sort of checking that out because I think that we're going to run into a lot of that. I think I was very heavy on double hero this year, and it just was not great unless if you kind of hit like a magic sequence of like McCaffrey and another guy. Let's see here. Like this one was a modified hero Jacobs. Kupp was bad, Devontae was bad, Ridley was bad, Williams hurt, JSN wasn't great. Yeah, so I mean, it just sometimes you just pick the wrong players is really what it comes down to. Again, I think it was just a tricky year. I was thinking a lot of Josh Jacobs when he was falling because of the contract talks. He becomes a second-round pick at the end of the whole thing, and it doesn't matter because he just sucked all year long. I do want to check one more as well. Let's check out I'm the Joker, baby. Why not? How did this one go? Let's see. I'm the Joker, baby. We go Bijan, Devontae Smith, Drake London, Brees, Addison, Dotson. Yeah, I mean, Dotson killed us. QJ killed us. I think another thing for me as well is we can't just take blindly year 2 and 3 wide receivers anymore. Like Jahan Dotson, Rashad Bateman, Drake London. It's just not that easy. The issue is like nothing was really good in this range when it came to wide receiver. Like Deontay wasn't great, Lockett wasn't great this year, McLaurin wasn't. Like you have to go all the way to I guess like Pickens, Mike Evans range to find a good wide receiver. So again, it was a tricky year, but like you don't want to overreact to any year or any season just because of how much variance there is in fantasy football. So that's what we did. That's our team. I'll show our team with Liam Murphy and Jacob Sanderson as well. That was a fun team that we drafted. That one came up short as well. Again, to the hands of Chad Schroeder. Chad Schroeder, again, in this league, you can see him, Cocktails and Dreams. This is him. He has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, in winnings in fantasy football. It's funny, like, a lot of people do content. Chad doesn't really do content, but he is in these streets. He is managing. I mean, I thought 27 was a lot. He is somebody who manages hundreds of teams. It's his full-time job. He is a true sicko. So we win our first week against Hughes Kids here. Or no, this was our 3rd place matchup. And then we get to where's the schedule here? So we win. No, we ended up losing in the first round to Cocktails and Dreams, who ends up winning this one as well. So you can see, of course, the 2 leagues that I end up getting into like the final 4 of, or 2 of the 3 or 4, are against Chad Schroeder, who again plays at volume, is a sicko, is a really good player in his own right. I'll give him that respect. And this was a good team that me, Liam, and Jacob made too. It just fizzled out. The issue that we had was quarterback because we drafted Lamar. He had a bye week in this first round playoff matchup, so that was a massive issue for us. Again, I don't love FFPC. I kind of got strong-armed into it by these guys. We fired up, I think, like 9 FFPCs just because one night, like, I don't know, there would be an NFC draft at 11, there'd be an FFPC at 9, and I would just take the 9 one because it would be better for streaming. I think next year I want to, again, I think we're going to make a follow-up video on this probably around June, where I look into the structure of each tournament, the buy-in, the winnings, and just kind of determine the best value ones, and then stick to a plan of, okay, this is the allocation I want. Because again, we kind of have to be on top of how we're spending our buy-ins, and then also how much volume we're taking on. Because again, last year or last season, I was just very willy-nilly. I was just like, okay, we're going to fire up a draft. I want to do a high stakes. Let's just do this. And I wasn't really thinking about the consequences of managing those teams and the format we were playing in. But yeah, so we didn't have Lamar. We ended up starting Bryce Young. I think we were debating going with Joe Flacco, and we didn't. We didn't have the stones for it. We started Jalen Guyton as well, just because JSN was so bad this year. It just completely fell apart. We had Pook on this team. It was a really good team. Again, we just got screwed because of the Week 13 thing. We had a bunch of buys here, but the team itself was good. We had Breece, Pollard, Ayuk, ETN, Puka Nacua. You have Lamar Jackson, Stephon Diggs off the bench. You have Jordan Addison. It was a solid team. It just didn't get as far as we would have liked it to go. Again, I think it was just a tough team, at least for how I draft on this channel. But I will say I am glad, it is still very nice to hear from a lot of the patrons, the subscribers. You guys comment, oh, I won my league watching your videos. It is important for me to understand that these high-stakes redraft managed leagues are with sickos, right? Like the Chad Schroeder guy, he's going to be in a handful of your leagues. He is very, very good. A lot of these guys are very good. A lot of stuff that we preach here is going to carry over to home leagues. You're going to absolutely dominate them. You use the rankings. You dominate your home league. That's all good and dandy. We try and compete with the big dogs here. We did it last year. This year, we're not as lucky. Now, moving on from the redraft managed leagues, next we have home league and Patreon league. Now, sadly, in the home league, we weren't as lucky here. My favorite part about this team is we got Kiren Williams. So we were using our own, waiver wire rankings. We got the Kiren. Your bitch, call me Kiren. Absolutely one of my favorite team names I've ever came up with, and we fell just short. This was painfully brutal for your boy here. We end up, if we go to the playoff bracket, maybe. Is there a playoff bracket? Oh, final playoff results. So we end up in the consolation bracket as the 7 seed, which means, now I didn't set a lineup after this point, so don't disrespect me for losing in the consolation bracket. I don't care. But 7 seed, again, 6 teams make it. We, to Lamar's Jackin, we fell just victim to Lamar's Jackin. And the brutal part is that I think that this team would have been really great towards the end here. I had Kiren Williams, Jordan Love was going crazy. Did JT have a game down the stretch? Devin Singletary had some games down the stretch. It was a solid team that I thought could have made some noise in the playoffs. We really fought tooth and nail here. If we look at the schedule, I talked about it on some streams. We started bad because, again, we had JT hurt. We had Joe Burrow, who was playing hurt, and that affected Jamar Chase. That was 3 of our players. Deontay Johnson goes down. So now we're stuck. We start out 0-4. We go 1-4. We go 1-5. And then the rest of the year, we only lose 3 games. Or I guess 2 games in terms of regular season. I don't really care about the playoffs. But that was brutal. This loss especially, this loss in week 6, if you go to we go to week 6, you can see we put up 121. It would have beat 9 other teams in this league. Of course, we go up against number 1 Swifty, and we lose 131 to 121.6. And that was sadly the season for us. So we fought back. I tried, man. Also, for those of you guys out there, just know we got a couple rings ourselves. All right, we got a couple rings ourselves. We're usually on top in this league. You hate to see it. I kind of got screwed by getting if you guys remember the draft video, I got the second best time, so I'm getting the second overall spot. I take Jamar Chase. I wish I was towards the end. There was just more value at the end of the draft. I also wish I got third and I would have just taken McCaffrey. So yeah, it's tough. We ended up on the tough side of the draft board. It wasn't fun. But I will give some love to, I know a lot of you guys have been wanting an update on this league. I will say, don't hold me to it. I said something in the Discord about it yesterday. Don't hold me to it. I cannot promise that I can get this. I cannot promise that I can pull this off. But something that I really want to do is I want to take as many of these, as many league members as I can, and I want to go to my local turf field and set up a combine with as many people from the league that want to do it. And the winner, what I want to do is I want to take everybody's height and weight. I want to do pretty much the minimum amount of combine drills needed to get in relative athletic score, because you can just input height, weight, vertical, agility drill, 40 onto relative athletic score and you get a score. What I want to do is I want to run as many of us through relative athletic score, and the highest guy, the guy who scores the best, I will cover their buy-in for this year. You know what I mean? So it's just like a one-off thing, It'll be my prize for content. I will give you the $50 buy-in or whatever as a reward. So I don't know, maybe 6 of them come out, maybe 8 of them, maybe only 4, but I could talk with some of the characters and sort of talk about what happened during the season. We can do the combine. I think it would be a great video. So if you make it to this point, again, this video, like going through the year, it's really for the sickos, this video, but if you made it to this point, let me know if you'd want to see that, because I think it would be a really, really fun video. Now, Babies pooping the bed, that was the Rock the Babies guy. He ended up going Bijan, Gibbs, Pollard. Let's actually look at just the final score of this game. You had Pell, you had Mike versus Pete. Mike really salvaged things, man. Mike, on the left-hand side here, he ends up winning it all. He had Nick Chubb go down early on him. He had Najee Harris, who was brutal, Christian Watson, but he salvaged it, man. I think he somehow got Kyler, Kenneth Walker, James Conner, A.J. Brown. He got Nakua off waivers. He drafted Achane, Zamir White off of waivers, and Njoku's in there. He went off. Now, the Rock the Babies team, Bijan, Gibbs, he also had Zay Flowers. Who were the other rookies? C.J. Stroud, Quentin Johnston. He ended up having a good year as well, but Bijan and Pollard really killed him, and that's kind of what happened for a lot of people that drafted Bijan and Pollard. It's tough to say, man. Those were two of my biggest misses this year, but given their profiles in another year, it's tough to say, that that's a truly lesson learned to not target, 8th overall drafted running back who's clearly a really good player. His coach just misutilized him. And Tony Pollard, who looked every bit as a really, really good NFL player. The Dallas offense, highest scoring offense. Dak was playing out of his mind. There were goal line attempts. Like, everything that Pollard needed around him to happen happened, and it just didn't pay off. So again, like, it's brutal that 2 of our most drafted running backs, like in previous years, we've actually been really good about like selecting the running backs, where, the legendary running back videos that we've done where we called out like Eckler in the year that he was at the RB1 overall. We've called out Jonathan Taylor the year that he was RB1. This year just wasn't as lucky, just because pretty much outside of McCaffrey, everybody sucked early. Now, that is my home league. This is a league I do poorly in every single year. It's the Basement Invitational. It's essentially the sickos of my... I wish that I could show you guys the league, but it is gone at this point from my sleeper because we deleted it. But that one is a $100 buy-in tournament. We do 4 leagues. Everybody in the Patreon, just 4 redraft managed leagues, and you come together for like a tournament at the end with like a $1,000 overall prize. The issue is everyone in there is using my rankings against me, so I just end up kind of getting bullied in a draft room of guys that know who I want to pick the entire time. So that one, I'm going to even make the playoffs in one of those, but I do enjoy doing them with the patrons. Now, we had a brutal Dynasty year as well. Now, this is only $520 of our buy-ins. It's like a drop in the bucket compared to our overall budget here. But another annoying, like, again, I have never had so many 3rd and 2nd place finishes in my entire freaking life. Like, so we had one silver in Dynasty, and we had 3 silvers in managed. So that means we went 2 and 4 in our championship games. Essentially is what that means. Brutal stuff. On top of that, you can see here in Dynasty, how many teams do we have in Dynasty here? We have 12 Dynasty teams. 8 of them we make the playoffs, right? These, if you're 6 and above, you made the playoffs. We made 8 playoffs, and all we got was a 2nd place finish and 3/3. We only got, of 8 teams that we made the playoffs, only 1 of them made the finals. A lot of them were really good teams too. Like this one, 21-7 was a really good team. 10-4, a really good team. 19-9, like none of these are really like 12-2. None of these are really squeaking to the finals, And the team that we lose with, I mean, this is just, if we go to 12 guys, 1 basement, the team that we lose with. Shout out to Zach Monty. Zach Monty is probably one of the better Dynasty players. There's a few guys that are in these Patreon leagues with me Which, by the way, my dynasty leagues are pretty brutal because they're either with patrons or analysts. So analysts pretty on top of what they're doing. Patrons are using my rankings against me. This team I have is just absurd. And we lose by 7 points or like 8 or 9 points here to Zach Monty. We were the reigning defending champ. I was never really worried about losing, right? I had Josh Allen. Like, this is a crazy team. Josh Allen, Kiren, McCaffrey, Diggs, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Njoku, Pacheco, Deebo Samuel, Devontae Smith, Jalen Hurts. We just had a down Devontae Smith game. I want to say I probably could have started somebody. Yeah, if I started Justice Hill, which I would have never. If I started Devontae Adams, I win that game. I just had such an embarrassment of riches. Yeah, so I'm benching Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams. It's like playing whack-a-mole with this team. I have so many good players that I just guessed the wrong one, and boom, that cost you first place. What else was I like pretty upset about losing in? The Founding Fathers was one too that I was upset about losing in. The Founding Fathers, I love this team as well. If you look at previous leagues, 2023, where can I go to check that out? Yeah, this is it. So lose by freaking 2 points, man. I lose by 2 points here. I don't even want to. Yeah, and then of course in the third place game I drop 205 points. I would have won first place here. I lose by 2, even though I would have won in this bracket. And then in the championship game, I would have had 205. It's just like, again, that was the story of my year this year. I've never had so many close calls and championship losses and all of that. But as always, like, it is the beauty of the game, man. Like, nothing's going to be perfect. The best team doesn't always win. That is fantasy football. Last year, the team that we won $10,000 with didn't even win its own league. It's all random. It's all a crapshoot once you get to the playoffs. It's really just a matter. The skill part is getting teams there. I feel good about the amount of teams that we got there, but pretty brutal run out for the teams that made it to the playoffs and then didn't come up big. So again, yeah, like 3 third place prizes, 2 of them $0, and so just absolutely brutal. I've never come so close yet so far. And then we have Underdog season-long best ball, which I decided to really go over the top with. Again, we had like $10,000 to mess with. I went all in for the content to show you guys, or just to draft on stream with you guys, right? Like we did a $1,000 league. That one went really badly. Did some $500 leagues, and we also came up empty here. This is, again, just the nature of tournament structure, where your big winnings are going to come to the top percentile. And if you don't hit on that, you're probably not going to be profitable. Now, this looks crazy, right? Like $10,000 in, $3,000 out. But if you were to put like $100 and you did like 4 BBMs and you got like $30 back, that's not the end of the world, right? Like I wouldn't go into anything in terms of fantasy football or gambling and expect to make a profit or get your money back every single year, every single time. I heard somebody in the Discord, Rohan, somebody that I interact with a ton, he ended up making, I want to say he made like $10,000 from like a puppy entry or something. The guy who won Best Ball Mania won $3 million up top, which, by the way, if there's a $3 million prize up top, there's only going to be a certain amount of people that actually come out way over the top. But that's kind of the whole reason I wanted to up the volume, right, where we use all of our winnings on teams, because I figured if I cast a wide enough net, I draft enough teams, one of them should hit, that $10,000 plus big prize up top, and we just end up whiffing here. But I think that the guy who won BBM only drafted like 50 teams. So I think that there is something to like a diminishing returns, where I'm curious how you guys feel about this, but if you weren't going to win it with 50 teams, are you going to win it with 150? And that's kind of what I'm going to be wrestling with next year, is like there is a certain point where you can't just buy infinite amount of lottery tickets and hit it, if that makes sense, right? Like at a certain point, the quantity doesn't help, if that makes sense. Now, I do want to see as well, I don't know if I can find it on my Twitter. I had a couple of close calls again with Underdog where the big money is going to be just making week 17. If you can just like finish like last place in BBM and you made week 17, I think you're making like $10,000, $15,000, and that would have been a massive win for us, and we couldn't get there. I had a couple of close calls. I don't know. I'm trying to find where I tweeted about them, because I tweeted about them at the end of the year. I had like 2 close calls where in week 16 we almost made it to week 17. I think like by like 2 points. Just absolutely brutal stuff. I'm trying to find it on my Twitter, and I'm just going to bookmark it real quick. But yeah, it's just tough. Like you have to make week 17 to profit. Tried my hardest, didn't get there. Man, can I find it? Also, shout out to the guy who won first place, by the way. Again, he didn't have a shit ton of teams, and then he also drafted a like 0 RB team, which is very cool. Like, this was the year of 0 RB, to be honest, and I wish that we were more aggressive and more extreme about it. Because if anything, I cooled off ever so slightly on 0 RB because I don't think I had like a true 0 RB managed team, just because every time I would have to take Breece Hall in like the 5th round or like Travis Etienne in the 5th round. Not to say that those weren't the picks, but sometimes those were J.K. Dobbins and sometimes those were Kenneth Walker. And I think that's where I ran into some issues this year. Now let's see. Yeah, it came up empty in week 17 again. All right, so I just bookmarked them. Am I about to get exposed for showing you guys my bookmarks? I'm gonna play it safe. I don't know what's in my bookmarks. But yeah, so let's see. So you guys can see here, we come again, just like super close here. We end up, so in this one, the top 3 teams make it. We ended up with 140 and we had 2 points away. So 2 points away from making it to the final of, this was Best Ball Mania, never mind, but we did end up like pretty much like 17 points out of first here. And then this was the one that really, really stung. This was a Dalmatian team, $101. We were 3 points out of making it to week 17 and getting a big cash prize. So it sucks. Again, it's just kind of what happens here. I'm trying to see if I can find just like, I don't know, anything else from those best ball teams. Again, I just had a lot of close calls. They didn't get in. They didn't make it. So it sucks to see. But I think in any given year, like again, last year we made 10,000. We did really, really good. You're going to have up and downs when you play in tournaments. Like when you play in tournaments, there's going to be a massive range of outcomes where you could lose like half your money. You could, next year we could win one of these things, win $100,000, and losing like 10 this year is like peanuts. So it's all a part of just like why we play the game. And again, it's important to note as well that like best ball tournaments aren't so much what you're here for. They're great content and great to prepare for your home leagues, but at the end of the day, you guys do come to me for winning your home leagues with your buddies, guys at your office, whatever. I think that we do excel at that. I think that if you use the draft guide, if you use the videos, you know, doing really well. I got a lot of positive comments. I use the rankings, I use the videos, I ended up winning my league, all of that good stuff. So that is important to remember. So pretty brutal year. I'm just going to be honest with you guys, all right? I'll be honest. I was kind of dreading making this video. I knew it wasn't good, but I did want to see what the exact numbers were. And I do pride myself on transparency. I'm not just going to come to you guys and say, hey, we won this boatload of money. Every year we're going to do this check-in, and we're holding ourselves accountable. If anything, this is motivation to be better this year. Come at it with full force. Come out here and win something big, because this is not great. But again, we learned lessons. We're going to be much more selective with what formats we do, where we draft them on, our buy-ins, all of that good stuff. So this year, 22,000 in, only 9,000 out. That is minus $13,000. Now, that looks like a lot of money. You have to remember, I do this for content, right? I do this for content. It's like opening packs for Madden streamers. Like we had the most subscribers we've ever had, the most revenue we've ever had in 2023. I don't pay employees. I've had the same camera and lights for 2-3 years. I don't really have many expenses. So $13,000, I promise, it looks like a lot, but you have to remember, this is my job. That is a fine amount of money for the content we produced. I had a blast doing the streams, and it was a good lesson learned that we took on way more teams than we could chew. We had to just be more selective with our contest selection, more mindful with how many teams we take on. Again, all a good learning experience. And over the last 2 years, if we do year to day, really not terrible. About $34,000 in, $32,000 out, minus a couple $1,000, which again, the content pays for itself. 94% ROI over the last 2 years. And if we have a profitable year next year, we can see that number go way, way up. So I'm still very optimistic about the future. Still confident in myself and my abilities. But if anything, I just feel more motivated than ever to come out here, learn from our mistakes of the past, and go out and dominate the 2024 season. I feel hungry as ever. I'm very excited to get to Dynasty season here and start talking rookies, which is honestly like one of my favorite parts of fantasy football is the rookies, the NFL draft, all of that good stuff. So pretty much posting this video, we're going to do some weekly streams, some weekly videos. Things are going to slow up a little bit here for February because I'm going to, on the back end, we're going to have to do some accounting stuff. I want to completely rearrange the studio down here, getting into the spreadsheet, tweak some models, input the new classes. So a lot of stuff on the back end. Things are going to slow down a little bit here. They have already slowed down, but then March, that's when we're kicking up the full throttle. But we still have video or two a week for the month of February. So be on lookout for that. Again, numbers this year weren't great, but I challenge all creators out there to be as transparent as we are on this channel, which is kind of where our leagues ended up and how we did in a given year. And I'm excited to show you guys next year when we come back, we bounce back, and we have a massive, massive year. So with all that being said, and by the way, like if you look at this and you're like, oh, this guy lost $10,000 playing fantasy. If you want to unsubscribe because I was honest and because I didn't, win every single league I was in, you can go ahead. But I think guys that have rocked with us for a while know that I feel like I've earned my spot in this space. We had a great year last year. And on top of that, we won leagues. Again, I just told you guys, like the tournaments, you can win a bunch of leagues. You can advance a bunch of leagues. I know Bush from Fantasy Stock Exchange, I think that he advanced like 40 teams in Best Ball Mania, which is insane. You're only implied to advance 25 of 150. So he went way over the top, which means you're winning a ton of your 12-man leagues. But even then, I don't think that he made Week 17 in the Best Ball Mania finals. So it really is a crapshoot at the end of the day. Advancement rate-wise and winning leagues-wise and making the playoffs-wise, we did fine. In the playoffs, we weren't as lucky this year. And I think all of us can kind of understand that the playoffs in general in fantasy football are the luck aspect. I feel good about the amount of teams that I got to the playoffs, the amount of teams that I got to the finals. Again, things just didn't crack our way, but last year things cracked our way in a massive way. So I'm looking forward to getting that big win I've been chasing. $10,000 is the biggest win we've gotten so far in a singular team. I would love to hit $10, $15, $20, $25,000 win team. So excited about what the future holds. As always, if you watch this, thank you. If you want more fantasy football content, make sure you subscribe, leave a like, all that good stuff, and I will see you guys in the next one.
Stones, like this froze, ice cold, ice around my body like I'm